The afternoon sun beat down on the cracked sidewalk of downtown Los Angeles, casting long shadows between the towering buildings. Marcus sat hunched against the brick wall of an old pharmacy, his weathered cardboard sign resting against his knees. The words, "Anything helps," were barely visible anymore, faded from months of exposure to the elements. His clothes hung loose on his thin frame, and his gray beard needed trimming, but his eyes still held a spark of dignity that homelessness hadn't managed to extinguish. Across the street, Jason Statham stepped out of a small coffee shop, espresso in hand. He wasn't filming today, just enjoying a rare moment of anonymity in the bustling city. Baseball cap pulled low, sunglasses hiding his recognizable features, he blended into the crowd of tourists and locals rushing past. He'd learned long ago that sometimes the best way to observe humanity was to become invisible within it. He noticed Marcus immediately. There was something about the old man's posture, the way he sat with quiet resignation rather than aggressive panhandling, that caught Jason's attention. Marcus never called out to passers-by, never shook his cup aggressively. He simply existed, hoping for kindness in a world that had largely forgotten him. Then Jason's attention shifted to three young men approaching from the opposite direction. They wore expensive sneakers and designer jackets, their laughter carrying an edge of cruelty that made his jaw tighten. The leader, a tall kid with bleached hair and too much confidence, nudged his friends and pointed directly at Marcus. Their conversation dropped to whispers, but their body language screamed trouble. Jason's instincts, honed from years of action sequences and real-world awareness, told him something bad was about to happen. He took a slow sip of his espresso and positioned himself closer, pretending to check his phone while keeping both eyes on the developing situation. Whatever these punks had planned, Marcus didn't deserve it. The three young men circled Marcus like sharks sensing blood in the water. The leader crouched down, his smile sharp and malicious. "Hey, old-timer," he said loudly enough for nearby pedestrians to hear. "We've got a proposition for you. How'd you like to make $50? Marcus looked up slowly, hope and suspicion battling across his weathered face. $50 meant food for days, maybe a cheap motel room for one night of sleeping in an actual bed. "What do I got to do?" he asked, his voice rough from disuse. "Simple game," Bleached Hair continued, pulling out his phone. "We're gonna film a video for social media. All you got to do is dance for us. Maybe do a little rap about being homeless. Make it funny, you know? Entertainment for our followers." His friends snickered, already recording with their own devices. Jason's grip tightened around his coffee cup. He'd seen this before. Cruel pranks disguised as charity, humiliation packaged as generosity. These kids had no intention of actually helping Marcus. They wanted a viral video, content they could monetize while degrading someone who'd already lost everything. Marcus hesitated, dignity warring with desperation. The young man sensed his reluctance and sweetened the pot. "Come on, man. It's easy money, unless you're too proud." The word proud dripped with mockery. "Tell you what, we'll make it $100, but you gotta really perform. Give us something good." The old man slowly pushed himself to his feet, bones creaking, resignation settling over him like a heavy coat. He'd swallowed his pride before, many times, to survive another day. What was once more? But as he stood there, preparing to dance like a trained monkey for these entitled kids, something shifted in the air. Jason couldn't watch anymore. He'd spent his career playing heroes who stood up against bullies and protected the vulnerable. The cameras weren't rolling now, but that didn't matter. Some things transcended acting. He stepped forward, his presence suddenly commanding despite the casual clothes and disguise. The young men didn't notice him yet, too focused on their cruel entertainment, but that was about to change dramatically. "Hey!" Jason's voice cut through the laughter like a blade, low and dangerous. The three young men spun around, annoyed at the interruption. The leader's face twisted into a sneer when he saw what appeared to be just another random guy in a baseball cap. "Mind your business, old man. We're making content here." Jason removed his sunglasses slowly, deliberately. Recognition flickered across their faces, confidence wavering as they realized exactly who they were dealing with. "Content," Jason repeated, taking another step closer. "That what you call humiliating someone for entertainment. Exploiting a man's desperation for likes and views." Marcus stood frozen, caught between his would-be tormentors and this unexpected defender. He squinted at Jason, recognition dawning in his tired eyes. Hope sparked there, fragile as a candle flame in a storm. The leader tried to recover, puffing up his chest. "It's just a joke, dude. Relax. We were gonna pay him. That's more than most people do." His friends nodded eagerly, suddenly looking younger, less certain. Their phones slowly lowered, but they were still recording. "You were gonna pay him to degrade himself," Jason corrected, his accent thickening with barely controlled anger. "To dance and perform while you laughed and collected views. You think that's charity?" He glanced at Marcus, whose eyes had filled with tears, not from sadness, but from the simple shock of someone defending him, treating him like he mattered. "Look, we didn't mean anything by it," one of the friends stammered, taking a step back. "It's what everyone does online. Pranks and stuff. People love it." Jason moved between them and Marcus, a human shield. People love cruelty when they don't have to witness the consequences, when they can swipe past the pain and move on to the next distraction. But you're standing here, face to face with a real human being who's struggling to survive. You see him as content. I see him as someone's father, someone's brother, a man who deserves basic dignity. The silence that followed was deafening. Pedestrians had stopped to watch. Phones now pointed at the confrontation. The tables had turned. The would-be pranksters were becoming the content, their cruelty exposed for everyone to see. The leader's face flushed red, caught between embarrassment and defiance. "Whatever, man, you don't know anything about us or why we do this." But his voice had lost its edge, replaced by the defensive whine of someone whose justifications were crumbling. "Then enlighten me," Jason challenged, crossing his arms. "Explain how humiliating this man makes the world better. Explain how your followers benefit from watching someone's dignity get stripped away for your profit. I'm genuinely curious." Marcus finally found his voice, raw with emotion. "I was a carpenter for 30 years, he said quietly, but everyone heard him in the stunned silence. "Built houses, raised 2 kids. Then my wife got cancer. Medical bills took everything. Lost the house. Then the kids stopped calling when I couldn't help them financially anymore. Been on these streets for 3 years now." His story hung in the air like smoke. The 3 young men couldn't meet anyone's eyes. This wasn't the narrative they wanted. Homeless people were supposed to be faceless. Their stories reduced to stereotypes that made them easy to dismiss or mock. Marcus's humanity, laid bare in those few sentences, made their planned prank suddenly monstrous. "I've done the dancing before," Marcus continued, his voice gaining strength. "Done the performing, the begging, the degrading myself for spare change. Because I'm hungry, and I'm tired, and sometimes survival means swallowing what's left of your pride. But I'm still a person. I still remember who I was before the world crushed me. Those memories are all I got left." Jason placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity that spoke volumes. "You hear that?" he asked the young man. "That's the cost of your content. That's the price of your views. This man's remaining dignity, served up for people who will forget him the second they scroll to the next video." The crowd had grown larger, dozens of people now watching with phones raised. The young men were trapped, their faces broadcasting shame, anger, and confusion. They'd expected an easy target, a quick viral moment. Instead, they'd stumbled into something that exposed their own emptiness. The leader finally cracked, his tough facade shattering completely. Okay, we messed up. We're sorry." The words tumbled out, genuine remorse bleeding through the panic. "Can everyone just stop recording? Please." Jason shook his head slowly. "Now you understand how it feels, don't you? Having your worst moment captured for others to judge. Having strangers witness your shame. That's what you were gonna do to Marcus, except he doesn't have the luxury of going home to a comfortable house afterward." One of the friends pulled out his wallet with shaking hands. "Hey," he said, thrusting bills toward Marcus. "Take it. All of it. Like $300. Just, we're sorry, man. Really." But Marcus surprised everyone by stepping back, shaking his head. "I don't want your guilt money. Son, I want you to understand something." His voice carried a wisdom that came from hard lessons. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Some of us wear our struggles on our sleeves, visible for the world to judge. Others hide theirs behind designer clothes and social media followers. But we're all struggling somehow. Kindness costs nothing, but cruelty can destroy everything. Jason watched the young men process Marcus's words, so the genuine impact settling into their expressions. You want to make real content. Jason asked them, interview Marcus. Let him tell his story, his way. Share that instead. Show your followers what actual humanity looks like, not manufactured drama. The transformation happened right there on that sidewalk. The leader, humbled and genuinely moved, asked Marcus if he'd be willing to talk on camera. Not as a joke, but as a person with something valuable to say. Marcus agreed, and for the next 20 minutes, he shared his journey while hundreds of people listened, both in person and eventually online. Jason quietly slipped Marcus $500 before the crowd dispersed, along with information for local resources and his personal contact. You call if you need anything, he insisted. Marcus's tears flowed freely now, but they were different tears. The tears of someone who'd been invisible for so long, suddenly seen again. The video the young men posted went viral, but for the right reasons. It sparked conversations about homelessness, compassion, and the responsibility that comes with platforms and privilege. Marcus eventually got connected with job training programs and transitional housing. The three young men became advocates, using their social media reach to highlight stories of real people struggling and the organizations helping them. Sometimes heroes wear capes in movies. Sometimes they wear baseball caps and simply refuse to let cruelty go unchallenged.